What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut. And today we are going to continue our player bio series as we look at the career and life of Ricky Williams. This is going to be an interesting one. So, Eric Lynn Williams Jr. was born on May 21st, 1977 in San Diego, California. He would go by the name Ricky shortly thereafter. Now, in the early 1980s, his parents ended up getting divorced, which led to Ricky taking on a lot of extra responsibility. Now, he's still a young kid, so he can't necessarily handle the extra responsibility. He's essentially taking care of his sisters. And he ends up having a lot of anger issues and struggling in school. Now, he goes to counseling to deal with the anger issues, and the school aspect was very surprising. He had taken a test when he was 6 years old, which indicated that he had the intelligence of somebody who was twice his age. So once Ricky got into 8th grade, his priorities began to shift and he started to focus on school. He later stated, quote, "I was always very bright, but not necessarily a hard worker. I think I was in 8th grade when I became really focused as a student and started getting good grades," end quote. So he ended up becoming an honor roll student while also starring for his high school's baseball and football teams, as well as participating in track and wrestling. So he had a massive breakout season his senior year of high school, where he would rush for 2,099 yards and 25 touchdowns. So he caught the eye of the Texas Longhorns football team, who offered him a scholarship to play football. However, he also caught the eye of an MLB team, the Philadelphia Phillies. So before his freshman year at Texas, the Phillies selected Williams in the 8th round of the 1995 MLB draft. So to avoid complication and messing with the timeline, we're just going to get the MLB career out of his way real quick. So Williams ends up signing with the Phillies, and he would spend 4 years playing minor league baseball. Now, he never made it above single A, just because he's playing college football, so he's only playing a handful of games over the summertime with the Class A Phillies. So over the 4 years, he would only appear in 170 games, hitting .211 with 4 home runs, but an astonishing 46 stolen bases. Now, he ends up getting selected in the Rule 5 draft, but he decided to focus on his NFL career instead of being a two-sport athlete, which, effectively ended his baseball career. Now, future All-Star Jimmy Rollins said that Williams was, quote, "the fastest guy I've ever laid eyes on," end quote. That's quite a compliment coming from Jimmy Rollins. So, with his brief MLB stint out of the way, we will focus on football from here on out. Now, you might be wondering, wait a second, how could he do minor league baseball and college football? It is allowed. They let you do it for leverage purposes because all of a sudden you get drafted you slide in the NFL to the 7th round, you have a fallback option of, hey, look, I'm still doing really good at baseball. So it's an interesting little loophole that Williams exploited, and other athletes have done it as well, including, of course, Kyler Murray. There's the biggest name recently, at least. So Williams' first 3 years in college were good, and they saw him steadily improve. His freshman year saw him rush for 1,052 yards with 8 touchdowns. And then as a sophomore, he improved with 1,320 yards and 13 touchdowns. Now, he took a big leap forward as a junior when he rushed for 1,893 yards to go with 25 touchdowns. Now, his senior season is where he really made his name known and left an imprint in college football. So he would rush for 2,327 yards to pair with 29 touchdowns. So this performance helped Williams earn the 1998 Heisman Award. By the time he graduated, he held numerous NCAA records. Now, he had the most rushing yards in NCAA history with 6,279. Now, this does not include bowl games, which is a little controversial. And the numbers I gave you before, if you add them up, you will see that they're higher than 6,279. Yeah, and this record does end up getting broken shortly thereafter. It's a big controversy with, why aren't bowl numbers included for players like Ricky Williams? But it is what it is. Now, he also had the career rushing touchdowns record with 73, which has also been broken. And he rushed for over 200 yards in 12 games during his college career, which is still tied for the NCAA record. Now, for a strong career in college, Texas has honored Ricky Williams in a few different ways. He does have a statue in his honor near their stadium, and the university has also retired his jersey number of 34. As a college player, he was very impressive. He was the 1998 Heisman Trophy winner, the 1998 AP Player of the Year, the 1998 Maxwell Award, and the Walter Camp Award winner. Now both go to the best college football player. He was a 2-time unanimous All-American. He was a 2-time Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, and he was a 3-time first-team All-Big 12 player. He is also a member of the College Football Hall of Fame. All of these accolades made Ricky Williams a highly regarded prospect heading into the 1999 NFL Draft. There, he ends up getting selected with the 5th overall pick by the New Orleans Saints. Now, if you're wondering about this, we're not going to get into the trade with big detail here. There is a trade breakdown that will be linked in the description below. It's a very interesting trade. Very interesting trade. So, Ricky Williams ends up signing an incentive-heavy contract right out of college, which guaranteed him $8 million as a signing bonus, but left the rest of the money basically up to mostly his production. Now, this is heavily criticized by members of the media and people in sports in general. They're like, why would you do that? That's stupid. You're risking, what if you get hurt? What if you suffer career-ending injury? But in 2020, Williams ends up speaking out about the decision. When he was asked about what he was thinking when he did that, he stated, quote, "I think I had the potential to be one of the best running backs ever. I've heard all this conversation about athletes being spoiled and overpaid. I want to do this differently. Signing bonus $8.8 million should be my reward for what I did in college. But everything else I do, I should have to earn," end quote. So, yeah, it made sense. On paper, it made sense. But in reality, it didn't necessarily work out, as Williams would sprain his ankle during the preseason of his rookie year and didn't do all that much. He would only rush for 884 yards and a pair of touchdowns. Now, he would only receive the rookie minimum salary of $125,000 that year. After the year, head coach Mike Ditka, the man who traded a lot to get Ricky Williams, ends up getting fired due to the Saints underperforming in the 99 season. Now, the pressure was on Williams now. In his second year as a pro, he did well. He would rush for exactly 1,000 yards on 248 carries to go with 8 touchdowns. However, that was only in 10 games, as he actually ended up suffering a leg injury that forced him to miss the final 6 games as well as the first game in the playoffs for the Saints. So, following that season, Williams expressed interest in playing baseball once again. Essentially what had happened is he was getting fed up with football. He was definitely unhappy with the Saints. He had publicly made it known he wasn't happy with Ditka and the rest of the Saints. So, what ends up happening is the Saints end up selecting running back Deuce McAllister in the first round of the 2001 draft. Now, this led to a very strong 1-2 punch of 2 running backs that were selected in the first round within 3 years of each other. So, fortunately for Ricky, 2001 was a very successful year for him. He would rush the ball 313 times for 1,245 yards to go with 6 touchdowns, while also adding 60 catches for 511 yards and another touchdown. After the 2001 season, the Saints decided that they liked what they had in McAllister, and they would trade Ricky Williams to the Miami Dolphins. So this made Ricky happy. He was done with the New Orleans Saints. He didn't like it there. He gets to go to Miami. He's okay with that. So, shortly after being traded to Miami, Williams ends up testing positive for marijuana. Now, this resulted in him being placed in a substance abuse program, but no further action is taken at that point. Now, at this point, it should definitely be noted that Ricky Williams suffered from social anxiety disorder. This made the spotlight very painful for him. He didn't like doing interviews. He didn't like any of that stuff. He just wanted to be with himself. He wanted to do his own thing. He would eventually go to therapy, and he took prescription drugs to deal with this. However, it did not help him enough. Now, he would eventually turn to medical cannabis. However, cannabis is banned in the NFL and other North American sports leagues. So, Williams also ends up turning to yoga in his free time, which he used to help recuperate from injuries and free his mind. Now, to discuss him, a former teammate of his from the Saints, wide receiver Joe Horn, stated, quote, "Ricky's just a different guy. People he wanted to deal with, he did. And people he wanted to have nothing to do with, he didn't. No one could understand that. I don't think guys in the locker room could grasp that he wanted to be to himself. Quiet. If you didn't understand him and didn't know what he was about, he always kept people in suspense," end quote. Back to football. So Ricky Williams responded very well after taking his talents to South Beach, as he put up career numbers in 2002. He would record 383 carries for 1,853 yards, 16 touchdowns, as well as 47 catches that he turned into 363 yards and another touchdown. Now, this season excited Williams and Miami Dolphins fans. He made his first Pro Bowl and was a first-team All-Pro. Now, Ricky had another strong season in 2003 where he rushed for the ball for a career-high 392 times, but his average yards dropped as he would rush for 1,372 yards and 9 touchdowns. So, in December of 2003, Williams would test positive for marijuana for a second time. As a result, he was docked 4 weeks' pay. After the 2003 season, Williams decided to shave his head, getting rid of his well-known dreadlocks at that time. So dreadlocks, you know what dreadlocks are. It was a very surprising move to see Ricky Williams get rid of the dreadlocks. That's for sure. Now, this definitely surprised fans, and he later stated that this represented a fresh start for him. Now, on May 14th, 2004, an announcement came out from the NFL. Ricky Williams had tested positive for marijuana once more and was facing a $650,000 fine as well as a 4-game suspension. As a result, Williams shocked the NFL world when he announced his decision to retire. Now, he did not play in 2004, but instead focused on himself. He later said that this was the most positive thing that he ever did in life. Now, after a year off, Williams filed to be reinstated from the NFL in the summer of 2005. He paid back a portion of his signing bonus, and he also had to serve the 4-game suspension, as well as being subjected to 10 random drug tests a month from the NFL for the rest of his career. He would publicly apologize to the Miami Dolphins for retiring a mere 2 days before training camp in 2004, and he looked towards the future, saying, you know what? I apologize. I'm sorry. That's the past. We want to look at the future. 2005's here. However, his retirement had led to the Dolphins also looking towards the future, as they decided to use their first-round pick, the second overall selection in 2005, on a running back named Ronnie Brown. Now, the two running backs would split carries throughout the 2005 season. So this led to Williams ending the year with 168 carries for 743 yards and 6 touchdowns. Now, in February of 2006, it was announced that Williams had failed a 4th drug test. Ricky appealed but lost. He was suspended for the entire 2006 season. As a result, he decided to sign with the Toronto Argonauts of the CFL. Now, this drew the ire of many people in the football community, including Joe Theismann, as the CFL did not have a substance abuse policy in place, nor did they have a rule that stopped any team from signing a player that was suspended in another football league. So Williams' stint in the CFL was far from perfect, as he suffered a broken arm and a freak accident with a door that left him with a gash near his Achilles that required 16 stitches. It was a weird thing where basically he had the broken arm, he was going in the practice facility for Toronto, and a door ends up swinging back and it hits Williams near his Achilles. So it wasn't his fault. It's not like he was drunk or anything like that. It just a freak accident. So Williams would end the season with 109 carries for 526 yards and a pair of touchdowns. Now, he loved his time in Toronto, but he had to return to the Dolphins for 2007 as the suspension was over, and the only reason he was able to play for the Argonauts is because the Dolphins said, you can play for them in 2006, but you have to come back to us in 2007. So, yeah. Now, when Williams left the CFL, the commissioner put a rule in place that banned CFL teams from signing players that were suspended in other football leagues, putting an end to that controversy once and for all. Now, an anonymous source ends up leaking that Williams had tested positive for marijuana for a 5th time, which meant that he could ask to be reinstated. He could not ask to be reinstated by the NFL until September of 2006. Now, in October, he's reinstated, but he would not return until late November. Now, bad luck struck when he tore his pectoral muscle in his first game back, which ended his season with only 6 carries for 15 yards. Now, he had a nice bounce back in 2008, where he ended the season with 160 carries for 659 yards and 4 touchdowns. Now, Williams would become the starting running back midway through the 2009 season after Ronnie Brown got hurt. And he made the most of his chance, ending the year with 241 carries for 1,121 yards and 11 touchdowns. He also caught a career-high 2 touchdowns that year. Now, in 2010, it was clear that Ronnie Brown was the future and Ricky Williams was the past. So Ronnie ends up taking the, running back 1 role. They're no longer really splitting carries. Ricky ends up ending the year with 159 carries for 673 yards and only 2 touchdowns. After the season, he officially becomes a free agent, and he would sign a 2-year deal with the Baltimore Ravens on August 8th, 2011. Now, he would surpass the 10,000 career rushing yards total as a member of the Ravens. And on the season, he didn't do that well. He would rush for 108 times for only 444 yards and a pair of touchdowns. Now, a month after the season came to an end, Williams announced his retirement. Now, he would end his NFL career with 2,431 carries for 10,009 yards as well as 66 touchdowns. He also added 342 catches for 2,606 yards and 8 touchdowns. Now, he holds 2 Miami Dolphins franchise records. Most rushing yards in a single season with 1,853, which was in 2002, and most rushing touchdowns in a single season with 16 in 2002 as well. Now, he was a one-time Pro Bowler and a one-time first-team All-Pro in the NFL. A lot of potential that just never was able to really establish itself. So, in 2014, Williams ends up selling his Heisman Trophy to a collector, and it's without a doubt that Ricky Williams is one of the most polarizing players in recent memory as well. You either loved him or you hated him. Now, recently, last month, Ricky Williams stated that the biggest regret from his football career is a little surprising. So, you might expect it, hey, wait a second now, he retired a year before his contract was up. He could have won the Super Bowl with the Ravens. Nope, that's not his biggest regret. The suspensions, not his biggest regret. His biggest regret was not retiring a member of the Dolphins. He wished he did. He really wished he did. And he only finished about 320 yards short of the career rushing yards record for the Miami Dolphins. Instead, he finishes second all-time in rushing yards, I believe, still for the Dolphins, behind Larry Zonka. So just crazy to think that. Now, like I said, Ricky Williams is one of the most polarizing players in the recent memory of sports in general. You know, him, all the steroids guys in baseball. Of course, there's a lot of other names in the NFL, Terrell Owens. But I hope that after this video, you at least learned a few things about Ricky Williams, because I myself definitely did. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a good rest of your day.